right, Jordan, welcome back to the Wire to Wire podcast.
It's been a while, man. It's good to be back. The sun's shining. We got some good weather. This is the time when I come out.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because I didn't like now that I have you on, I didn't realize how long it's been since
Uh-huh.
we last did an episode together, bro.
Yeah, I mean, in the winter time, I like to keep to myself. There's not much going on, not much to talk about. So, it's a time to just reflect and come back stronger, right? And here I am,
Yeah,
back and
perfect.
better, like I never left.
Perfect. Yeah, glad to have you on. So the first topic that I wanted to cover is recently, right, Kevin Garnett. I don't know if it was a Freudian slip or if he just said the quiet part out loud, but essentially he was doing a podcast with Paul Pierce and he just casually said, that LeBron is on that Balco, referencing, steroids and PEDs. And I was kind of confused, like, because you don't really hear someone of that prominence making that kind of a statement, right?
Mhm.
So did you actually see when Kevin Garnett said it? So you know what I'm talking about?
No, I actually didn't see it, but that is crazy, especially in wake of his 40,000 point weekend, right?
Yeah, that's probably something that we'll have to get into. But okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the video. Well, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Get a bucket on
No,
him.
no, 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 no.
Man, come on. That little dude explosive, bro.
He is,
He
but
got
you seen his
Bron.
dad? His dad on that
Yeah,
balcony.
but
He on that new
he
juice.
ain't
That come on.
slide.
The guys in green, man, they're funny. They're a funny bunch. Paul Pearson and KG, big ticket and the truth. Yeah. Um,
So, what do
I, I
you,
I feel I feel like there's still some animosity there. I mean how things changed in terms of LeBron when they thought they owned him, and then LeBron went to the Heat and changed the whole guard in the Eastern Conference. I feel like they're a bit still salty about that, even though they respect him and his greatness. They're gonna find some time throwing some jabs there at LeBron, whether it's a allegation of steroids or anything, or any performance enhancing drug to help his performance. But again, you know what I mean? Like it's LeBron. Even if he was on any steroids, and we've heard it all across years now, the decades now, about how much he spends on his body, right? So again, who knows what he does put on his body, and it doesn't matter at this point. And for someone that's been the face of the league, like even if he was on performance enhancing drugs, Adam Silver's not going to put him down. So it is what it is.
okay, I see where you're going with that. So I have a completely different view of it. So with Kevin Garnett, especially this year, like this season, since it started for whatever reason, it seems like he's been kind of waving the pom poms for LeBron, and which was kind of shocking to me because it seemed like he was very pro LeBron, right? But to hear him make that comment, I think the reason why he's saying it, I don't really think it's necessarily animosity or anything. Although I do think his competitive spirit is rooted in it. So I think he's a very competitive guy. And he's one of the greatest power forwards to ever play, right?
Right.
And he's someone that has a huge amount of respect for a guy like Jordan, especially.
Right.
So here's a player that people are saying is better than Jordan,
Uh-huh.
right? No pun intended. here's, here's a guy who they're saying is better than Jordan. And I know, right, that he's not even doing it in a clean way. Like,
Right.
I know he's on something.
Okay. So you
So,
see some truth to the allegation.
and I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
But for KG, what I believe or what I think is that he is basically saying that we're giving this guy props that he didn't necessarily earn. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So, with him saying that, and then with that MMA fighter Chael Sonnen saying the stuff that he said, right? And he was not saying it on some small time platform. Like this guy was sitting there with Andrew Schultz. I'm talking about Chael Sonnen or Kale Sonnen.
Yeah, Chaos on it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on Andrew Schultz's platform, and he openly said that LeBron was on EPOs and PEDs.
If the world understood what LeBron did, like other basketball players will hear what LeBron does and go, well, yeah, but that doesn't matter, right? It's like a baseball player. You're hitting a stick out of the way. It doesn't matter. It's like, no. If you knew what these performance enhancers did, then you would know why it does matter.
What do you think he's
there's
doing?
only one. We have the same drug guy, if you will. I know exactly what he's doing. But there's only one golfer.
Please tell.
There's only one golfer. I'm not going to. But there's only one golfer that follows the big three. And the big three is EPO, growth hormone, testosterone. That's the Lance Armstrong diet. There's one golfer, but it's Tiger Woods. Like, yes, it does matter. People will say it all the time, it doesn't matter. John Daly won it. It's like, it matters. Trust me that it matters. EPO matters. It's the reason LeBron takes it. It matters. And if other basketballers understood what it did, EPO increases your red blood cells, which gives you endurance so you can play all game long. You can shoot in the fourth
More
quarter
red blood
just like
cells,
you
more
shot in the
oxygen
fourth
in your
minute.
red blood cells. Okay, got you.
It's the king of performance enhancers.
So you would prefer that, especially in a fight sport, to anything else?
EPO is king.
Because it's going to give you the stamina.
Yes.
That's why cyclists do it.
That's why
Tour de
cyclists
France is
So that fifth round energy is
the
more
human
important.
body is not made to do the Tour de France. I mean, the people that set that up are inhumane. So of course you have to go. Of course it's supernatural people that they're forcing them to take.
Now that you're not
take
competing,
PEDs.
are you still on?
Yeah.
Right. And then earlier, I think it was late last year, it came out that the DEA investigated LeBron for PEDs. Okay, so there's that investigation, and then they said they found no wrongdoing, which I can get into that in a moment. That even that investigation in and of itself, to me, I think was not a thorough investigation.
Yeah, I'm saying you, Adam Silver got in the way of that investigation. You know, Adam Silver put in his piss.
And honestly, I don't even believe that piss was taken. Like, that's the crazy thing, because literally their investigation was linked to a trainer of LeBron's, right? But they found that it was LeBron's trainer and then one of his homies, Randy Mims, one of his good friends.
Right.
So they were found to have links to the PEDs, but LeBron was completely uninvolved. Right? And then on top of that, if you look at it earlier, what is it, a couple of months ago? Tristan Thompson got suspended 25 games for PEDs.
Oh, so Tristan TT took the fall for Bron.
I mean, how is it that all these people around you are getting caught up in it? Like, bro, even LeBron's wife was mentioned in this investigation. So you mean to tell me his trainer, his wife, one of his best friends, and a guy who's signed to Clutch Sports, all of them have ties to PEDs, and LeBron is just, his hands are clean in all of this? So
yeah, it's crazy.
to
I
me,
mean, and I just find it funny that just to go off topic here, it's interesting to see the change and the growth in you. You know, like finally you're honest about this guy LeBron James, and I guess it hasn't been a long time since we podcasted, because I didn't know you'd be able to mature over this short time frame and finally come to realization about your growth. You know.
For me, like I only look at the truth, right?
Right.
So you're right. Especially when I started this platform, I was very pro LeBron, right? But I started observing certain things and certain behaviors and patterns involving him. And then on top of that, you know, I'm the kind of person, I don't like to be in echo chambers. So I don't want to be in spaces where like I'm always constantly watching content that feeds into my belief. I want to see what other people are saying.
Of course.
And so I started watching, like, you know, a lot of independent content creators, and they started raising some valid points about LeBron is just not that guy. So with this information being presented to me, combined with the fact that I've observed and seen a lot of things from him, right? Just on the basketball court, the amount of excuses he makes, always constantly needing help, throwing teammates under the bus. And then you're losing, like you're constantly going to the finals and you're losing.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Anthony Davis at the press conference spoke about LeBron breaking these records, and he said, I mean, he's gonna have to just stop breaking records, because every time he breaks a record, we lose, right?
And
we're looking at the 40,000 point game against Denver, and then the game against OKC, I believe, when he broke the scoring record. Uh, those ended up in 2 losses, right? So, hey, man, I don't know, man. Like again, I've tried to always put it in front of you. I always try to hint at it, but it sometimes takes self-awareness.
And that's what I preach on this show, self-awareness, So I can openly admit it, LeBron is not the greatest player of all time, right? Maybe top 5, right? Uh, Again, there's a lot of shakiness in regards to his resume, even the records and stuff that he's setting. Like, first of all, 40,000, it's a longevity stat. Like, let's just call it what it is. It's a longevity stat.
Yeah,
And you're clearly going on the floor to stat pad.
yeah,
Like, you're not playing to win. You're going to like pad your stats.
yeah. I
So,
mean, that's what it seems like it's shifted to, right? Because we're looking at the Lakers, they get all this attention. The Lakers are 10th in the West.
and
Like,
you know what's so crazy, bro? Like, what's so ironic, and I thought about this today, right? Is I remember when the play-in
mm,
tournament was
yeah,
proposed. Remember, this guy hated the idea. He said whoever came up with this idea needs to be fired.
hmm,
And if it was not for this play-in tournament idea
yeah,
being implemented,
hmm,
this guy would not, I think, what is it, the last three playoff appearances he had, he would not have even
probably.
made playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Because
So
he's finished like ninth, 10th, like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And just,
yeah.
yeah, and then through the play-in, gave him the opportunity to like get in, like attempt to play a 1 seed or a 2 seed, right?
Yeah, so literally you are a beneficiary. You're a beneficiary of an idea that you once hated.
Hmm.
So it's very ironic. And that whole narrative, like in the East, when he was going to like all these finals in a row, I think he went to like what, 8 straight finals, I believe.
Yeah,
And then everyone's like, oh, it's because he's in a weak Eastern Conference. Now he came out West. He's showing he can't do it.
clearly, right?
Like
They
he can't
never
get it
finished
done.
really with a high record, right? They finished, I think, one year they finished probably top 4, but other than that, there's been struggles. And then thank God for the play-in tournament, and then, again, look at the in-season tournament as well. They were reign champions, so it's just like, you know what I mean? Like all these initiatives that are benefiting.
And it's laughable because they say, they were like, D'Angelo Russell was a key contributor for the in-season. Darvin Ham is a good coach, right?
Yeah,
So you win your in-season tournament, you pop your champagne, which is embarrassing.
yeah.
It's
I
very
just
embarrassing.
I just don't like that idea at this point. It's unforgettable. You know what I
It
mean?
was so embarrassing. And then you
Like,
do that, and then all of a sudden, oh, D'Angelo Russell needs to be traded. Oh, Darvin Ham needs to be fired. So he's good enough
yeah.
to win the in-season. And this guy posted on his story.
Hmm.
You know that Drake lyric with a J. Cole where it's like, I'm one away from Michael, beat it.
Yeah,
He posted that on his story.
yeah.
And I think he was just getting flamed. So someone probably told him, yo, take that down. It's not a good look. So having said all of that, because I had my awakening moment when it comes to this guy, he's a clown. Let's call it what it is. He's a clown. He's overstaying his welcome. He's like that guy or that person that comes to visit your house and they don't know when to leave.
Hmm.
Or they're at a restaurant or they're at a bar. I don't drink.
Yeah, yeah,
At a
yeah.
restaurant or they're at a bar and it's last call
Hmm.
and they have no intent of even getting up and leaving.
Right.
That's what he is. Like, bro, retire, leave the game, and let these young guys flourish because there's a lot of great young talent that we
Yeah.
can get into later on in this episode
Right.
that need that shine and deserve to get that shine.
Hmm.
But
I
this
agree.
clown does not want to retire and just leave.
Yeah, and then now it's and another topic with LeBron is the whole his son Ronnie, right? And how he's changed the narrative from, oh, my son is better than half the players in the NBA right now on rosters, to let him just ball now. Let him don't. Why do you guys have to comment on him? Just let him play. Let him be a young baller and enjoy the experience, right? It's just, changing the goalposts
Yeah.
every time.
Which is what he does, which is his specialty, right? So, I mean, going back to the original topic when Kevin Garnett made those comments, do I believe that there's truth to it? I do believe there's truth to it, right? Now, of course, it's alleged, nothing has been proven or confirmed, but if anybody out there really believes that a 39-year-old can run as fast as a gazelle and can jump out of the gym and score all these points and do all these things, then I have an underwater house shaped like a pineapple that I would love to sell to you. Like, just DM me on IG and I'll get you set up with that. I can get you set up with that property, no problem. But there's clearly, again, this is all alleged. Everything that I'm saying about the guy is alleged.
Yeah.
But how is he able to do this? And even too, one time I remember on Colin Coward's show with Christine Leahy,
Uh-huh.
she was going over an article about how he spends over $1 million on his body, and on his team he has like he had a biochemist. That's what it was.
Okay, biochemist. Okay.
So he has a biochemist on his staff, and this individual was someone who used to be in the U.S. Navy.
Wow.
What are you going to learn from a biochemist? I mean, okay, I understand you have a nutritionist, chef,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
personal trainer. I'm pretty sure a dietitian and a nutritionist are relatively the same thing.
Right.
So that's going to be redundant there. So do those three things cost $1 million? Where does a biochemist come in? And then in that same article, right, it was during a game with the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
At halftime of the game, he gained 7.5 pounds.
Maybe all this is just a smoke screen to the PEDs, man. Yeah,
That, and I think that's all of
Could
it
be.
ties to. And I'm glad you mentioned, I think, about Adam Silver earlier, right? Is that right now this guy is their cash cow,
Yeah.
right? So they're gonna look the other way. But I
Yeah.
believe that when his playing career is over, that there will be a scandal that comes out about this guy.
There's going to be a surviving LeBron documentary.
I would not, I wouldn't be surprised, but there's definitely gonna be, I believe, a scandal that comes
Mhm.
out about his PED usage because Lance Armstrong, I remember once upon a time was a hero, right? He was the guy who fought cancer and won Tour de France,
Mhm.
right? And look what came out about him, right?
Yeah.
Barry Bonds. So I think eventually these stories will come out about him. And the fact that mainstream media is saying nothing and that no one at Clutch Sports put out any statement basically saying, look, these rumors are false and unproven,
Mhm.
they're not going to do that because they don't want to give this thing, they don't want to breathe life into this. They just want this to go away.
Of course. Yeah. Bad for business,
100%.
right? Bad for business. And they can't have that. So, I mean, again, it's going to be interesting, but I feel like with this whole LeBron thing, they're going to ride the wave as long as possible until they can find their next face of the league, right? Which is a crowded field right now, but it doesn't seem like they have that face of the league that could really take on that could be indestructible like LeBron and almost be that person that puts on a mask to do what the commissioner or the league needs him to do, right? You have someone like Joker that's taken over the league with his dominance, but he could give two shits. He'll go to the All-Star game, throw the ball from half, and do whatever he wants and just throw it off the backboard and not really be a role model for what we need as the face in the league. So again, I feel like Adam Silver and LeBron are going to be like this until he can't walk, right? So, and they're going to try to do the whole LeBron James, Bronny playing in the league at the same time. They need it because, like, again, it's money and it's a moment, right? And they want to highlight that moment, and it'll be good for the league. They're like, wow, look at that, another historical moment. The first list. They're always looking for the first, right?
And, I think this is the problem that the NBA has because even as a face of the league, right? Like, if we really, like, take narrative, take everything out of it, right? What has he actually really done that benefited the league? Like, viewership has been down,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of people, especially fans of the game, they complain about the whole, player entitlement, right?
Yeah.
who who was the godfather of this behavior that we're seeing,
Yeah,
right? Like when people talk about load management, right? Greg Popovich did it so he could save his older, not save, but for his older players so he can make them more healthy for the playoffs,
right,
right?
right.
He saw it in Miami and then he saw it when he was in Cleveland and he started doing it, sitting out games,
Hmm.
like nationally televised games, road games. He was doing it, right? But
Yeah,
because, him and like you said, him and Adam Silver, because they're like this,
yeah,
like he gets away with everything. But it's if you
it's
really
true.
break it down, has he like what has he really genuinely done for the league?
Well, I mean, he has all these stats, right? That's what what it comes down to. All the stats that they made sure that he has beaten. So he has that, right? And he's won championships, multiple teams. You know what I mean? He did it Miami, now with the Lakers. First to win the in-season tournament. Can't forget that,
And
right?
and honestly, I do believe that he is holding the league back from actually being able to progress.
Mhm. And
And
try new things. Yeah,
yeah,
because it's
I
still
think
under like a LeBron regime, right? And
yeah, and
a
it's
lot of
like
they try to place the blame on Kevin Durant for his decision making per se, but again, it was just a second act of what LeBron has done, right?
yeah, so I think even with the in-season tournament, it was very obvious that thing was rigged and in favor for one guy to win it. Like,
Yeah,
first of all, how did they even come up with the seeding and the divisions? The league came up with that, right?
right.
So
Yeah.
they put his team in the weakest division,
Uh-huh.
knowing
Versus
that,
the Pacers in the finals.
yeah.
Lakers versus the Pacers. No, what a matchup.
And
Not
so it
Milwaukee,
was it was
right? Not
clearly
Giannis.
it was clearly a red carpet for him to win, right? So let's just say he was retired and he wasn't even in the league. Now there's not really any particular player they would have to cater to. So guys would just compete, like it would be authentic competition.
Yeah.
And
And,
it
and
would be
again, for the fan, we wouldn't know, right? Here, we're like, oh, we can see how this one's going to go, right? A team that's 10th in the West that we think is a good team because they won the in-season tournament, struggling to make the playoffs, but they won the in-season tournament. So what's the value of the in-season tournament? Same thing with the Pacers. The Pacers got to the finals, but they're a team that's, struggling in the East, right? So, you know what I mean? It's just like it was almost there as, again, a cash cow. And who is their cash cow? LeBron James. So let's get LeBron the first ever to win this so it holds some weight. Again, like if Halliburton and the Pacers win this trophy, the trophy doesn't have as much weight to it. It's like, oh yeah, the Pacers won it the first time, but when LeBron, the guy that has the most points ever, 40,000 points, wins it, first ever in-season tournament, it's like, oh wow, now I want it, right? So
and I think even too in terms of having a face of the league, I think this is kind of feedback for the league itself
mhm,
is that adopt their they need to adopt the way they market their league or adapt the way the way they're marketing their league because they don't
mhm,
need just one singular face. You had that, right? At certain times when it was
right,
necessary, but the game evolved, right?
right,
You had Michael Jordan. You don't need to always find the next Michael Jordan. You just have to
mhm,
find someone who's great for that generation right now that they're in.
right,
You know what I mean? So even when you had, prime LeBron, you also had Stephen Curry. You had a bunch of other great players that you could have made one of the faces of the league. I
mhm,
always thought Stephen Curry was a great ambassador for the league,
right.
right?
It is,
And
but now we see it now. It's like almost like he's irrelevant. Even though they try to, they try with the All Star game, having him with that shooting 3-point competition with the WNBA girl. So they try to do things like that, but like again, it's like you don't like see Steph as the face. you still see all the attention focused on LeBron per se.
And the thing is, a lot of these guys don't even really care for attention. Like earlier, you mentioned Jokic, right?
Yeah.
Giannis is the same way. He doesn't really care for the attention. Stephen Curry doesn't really care for it.
That the fabricated attention. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really care for that. For them, it's just all about being great at what they do. And I think even too, if you look at it sometimes in life, you know, when you make something your focus,
Yeah.
it's harder to attain, right? But when you just do other things, naturally the things that you would want just they come by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these guys, and even if you look at guys like Michael Jordan never set out on becoming a brand. He never set out on sneakers. He just wanted to become the best player that he could possibly be.
Right.
But he ended up becoming so great that all those things were just a byproduct of that work.
Right.
But the thing is, with LeBron is he always prioritized, no, I want to be a brand. I want to be a billionaire. I want people to love me everywhere I go. I want to be respected.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of guys, you know, especially people like you who saw it early, don't really mess with him like that because everyone just saw this guy's an attention seeker.
Yeah.
Like Jordan didn't have people that he was allegedly paying under the table in the media to say good things about him.
Yeah.
And there's people that you can look at, again, this is alleged, but there's people I look at ESPN that I can say, you probably are on this guy's payroll. That's why you're saying the stuff that you're saying.
Right.
So to me, I think the league does have a LeBron problem, and I think the sooner they can get out from under him, the better, because I do believe if that PED scandal hits, you know, post-retirement, you know, I don't
It changes the narrative.
it changes a lot of things because it's like because the league never had a scandal. And it's not because the league was always clean and pure. It's just they never really checked for it like that.
Yeah, I feel there's a lot of things that goes down in the NBA that they just let slide because they don't want that negative press, or they want to control the narrative as much as possible and make sure that the storyline follows through, right? So again, they will pick on villains. They'll choose their villains, and then again, they'll make sure that they take a lot of the blame. But when it comes to their heroes, they ensure that they have the cleanest record, and nothing comes out until maybe a few years after.
Yeah, but you know, like you can only the truth, you can only suppress it for so long. I think eventually it's just an instinct, right? It's not something that I'm not wishing bad on the guy or want anything bad of the guy. But I don't know, in the short time in that you and I have been alive, because we're the same age, right? We've seen how the media builds people up and then they tear them down.
100%. Yeah.
And we've seen it happen so many times. We're watching it happen right now before our very eyes with a certain music, you know, producer that we'll get into in a moment. And I find it very hard to believe that he's not going to have experienced a similar fate, you know, because I think I look at patterns, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I look at patterns. So I remember there was one guy that they used to call America's Dad. I'm not going to say his name because of the, you know, the algorithms and all that stuff. But there's a guy that they used to call America's Dad.
Yeah.
And I remember just as a kid, I just used to like spend a lot of time, like, you know, just browsing the internet, researching random stuff. And I remember I used to see like these rumors about him on the most mundane websites.
Yeah.
And you would sometimes would hear certain personalities like just come out and say it just casually, the way you saw Kevin Garnett say it casually, people would say these kind of comments casually.
Right.
No one thought anything of it. And then one leaked video came out from his stand-up where a comedian, I think his name's Hannibal Buress, he made a comment about him. And then that suddenly just opened the floodgates to all of these things that happened. And we saw the way that they systematically tore this guy down.
Right.
I don't know if he's guilty or not. I don't know. I'm not trying to litigate the case here. I'm just giving an example of how a guy who had a prestige reputation, who was viewed as up here, suddenly became a pariah.
Yeah.
So I've seen it happen enough times with numerous people, and I find it very hard to believe that it's not going to happen with LeBron at some point.
I mean, again, I sometimes I wish the best for our black gentlemen in this world, but again, if history repeats itself, history repeats itself, right?
And that's all it is. It's just trends and patterns, right?
Yeah.